You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to the Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and... she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Thoughts of suicide may feel impossible to overcome, but with help and support, you can find hope and meaning. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK to speak to a counselor, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. It's free, it's confidential, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if it feels like it, you're not alone.
It's been a long, bumpy ride sitting back in the saddle. It's time to get down, dirty up our knees in the battle. Oh, come on, round up the boys, gonna make the walls rattle. Oh, our flag is tattered and our bones are shattered, but it doesn't matter 'cause we're moving forward. Round them up, let's go. Round them up, let's go. The blood we've shed. The only way I'm leaving is dead. That's the state of my head. They don't know where we've been. We got that concrete street skin. The only way I'm leaving is dead. That's the state of my head.
Hey, chat room. Hey, listeners. It's us. Welcome to Cyber Wars. It's me, Cyber Dude. Because that's my new name. Is someone on Twitter.
You're that Cyber Dude I've been hearing so much about.
Right, I am the Cyber Dude. Someone.
That was the LARPing queen.
Yeah. Well, somebody else wrote that about me, right? And it was, but they had to write it out. They couldn't just say I was LARP or I was LARPing. I'm actually a live action role playing malware hunter They wrote it
I must have
all
missed that part.
It's on a blog that we won't mention.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's out there on a blog somewhere. Like, this is my life, and it's so much fun. But hey, it's me, Cyber Dude, with my BFF, with my Amish BFF Orty, and my Stoner BFF Stoner.
The true hockey player. You didn't even have to play hockey to break a tooth.
I know, right? Exactly. I think that's going to be our new open for every show. Hey, it's me, Cyber Dude, with my Amish BFF Orty and my Stoner BFF Stoner. That just sounds fun, doesn't it? Like, that makes people want to listen. Boy, has it been a crazy week. So, I found some hackers with this week. What did you do, Orty?
Well, okay. I want to let you two know how stoked I am to have you on the team to build the new KLRN website. Jeff, you figuring out that chat client, so that way we can have a real chat. And just the way that it's all coming together, everybody's going to dig it, and Rick is really going to love it when it goes live.
Right.
No, it's working on the website with you two. It's just been awesome.
Yeah, that has been a highlight of the week. Like, since our last show, that's been a highlight. And I have to say, man, Jeff, for someone who talks about, well, I won't be able to do much, or I probably can't help much, has done a lot. So, how about you, Jeff? How's your week been? I mean, we've heard a couple of things. I don't know which ones you want to talk about.
It was awesome until 4 hours ago.
Aw.
Dealing with a little bit of a broken tooth, so I'm consuming a Long Island right now, so it should be fun next hour or so.
Yeah. Drinking a Long Island or two. We'll have a great show.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
self-medication rules.
Right. So it's been a really interesting week in the news as far as cyber interests as well. And what we wanted to do tonight was definitely talk about Iran, because we've talked about their, high-level hacking teams, and it's definitely a threat that they've made, and a threat that the government is really concerned about with regards to retaliation for the death of who I have for years now called the evil salamander. It's really, I don't have nicknames for all of those guys, but Suleimani was one that I actually had a nickname for. Yeah, evil salamander. Just because I think he probably really wouldn't like that nickname very much. So
I'm just a dork, so I've been calling him Saruman.
I think anything that you call him other than his name would make him unhappy.
The other thing is that whenever I've heard his name, I don't know if you remember Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom when the dude was
Saruman.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course, Jeff knows what you're talking about.
All right,
right.
Good.
So
I've had that scene stuck in my head for like 3 days.
Oh, and what day did we actually even blow him to pieces? So.
God, I don't know. It feels like forever ago, but it's just because Twitter won't stop.
Right. Was it New Year's Eve or New Year's Day or the day after?
If it was New Year's Eve, I had something else going on and I wouldn't have known.
Well, and I think that's it. It was done over, and what a way to start a new year, right? I mean, let's just say before we get into because all of us have had, and Jeff probably not as much as you and I, because he's like one of the nicest people on Twitter when he's on Twitter. It's like, it's
me?
Yeah, absolutely. You and
okay,
Jody.
now this is relative. This is on a bell curve.
Okay, I understand that.
Right, yeah, absolutely. We are graded on a curve when it comes to this. So, yeah, on the 3rd, so it was 2 days, but it's still, we're starting the new year. And this must have been someone's New Year's resolution, is to get rid of this guy. But, so there's this, there are those of us in this country and Iran, all over the world, that are celebrating this man's death, which is something that I mean, as a person and as someone who was raised by the parents I was raised by, and definitely as a Catholic, not a really comfortable position for me to be in. But I cannot help myself. There are very few people on earth that have ever been killed. If I had been alive when Hitler killed himself, I would have celebrated. This is the same kind of thing. This man needed to go, not in retaliation for everyone that he's killed in the past, even though, if that's your position, I'm not going to argue with you, but to stop him from killing everyone that he was planning to kill and would plan to kill in the future. He was 60 some odd years old. I think maybe, was it 63? Is it something like that? The dude's in his 60s. He could have lived another 10 years, guaranteed. He would have been killing or planning to kill for the entire time.
See, now this is what, while we're talking about Twitter, let's do a distinction here. He was a terrorist. Everyone's like, oh, we killed an Iranian general. No, we killed a general of the mullahs. He's not actual, Iranian regular. So it's like,
well, yeah, and if this is
more sympathetic, I could not be. Even well, you're just racist because you want. No, I felt the same way about the IRA too.
Right, absolutely. And if this were a reason to keep us to make it a war crime, to keep us from killing someone, or keep us from stopping someone from, doing the things that this man did, then any country could take any terrorist and give them a government position. It's been done before.
It used to be called letters of marque back in the golden age of sale.
Right, yeah, and it's been done before, right? It has certainly been done before. They're notorious for it in Palestine. They take, horrid terrorists, they give them a government position, and it gives them protection. And diplomatic protection. They give terrorists diplomatic protection all the time. This is not okay. It is not an okay thing to do, and I think that our actions kind of made the statement where that it's not an okay thing, and we're not going to recognize the fact that just because you made this man a general, it makes him not a terrorist. He's just as much a terrorist as he would have been. And let's be honest, that they have killed plenty of Israeli generals and called them terrorists and murdered them. It's happened. They assassinate them. They call them terrorists. And some country protects them because, some country funds it, backs it, because they were opposed to them. So it's done. Let's just all get over it.
Hey, Ordy.
Yeah.
Can you play the disclaimer real quick?
The following program contains adult language and coarse themes, or adult themes and coarse language. Listener discretion is advised.
We're about to cuss, y'all.
I'm glad the fucker's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you see any wounded vet from an IED, you see any blind box come home under a flag from Iraq, there's a good chance that he was involved in the plotting and planning at some level. Right,
yeah. The IEDs, there was a point in the Iraq War particularly, but the technology got spread throughout the Middle East. There was a point where the news was all about IEDs have become more lethal than ever. This man was responsible for it. Okay, so enough said. We don't need to justify why we're glad he's gone. The people of Iran that are celebrating his death, and they're way more
at their own peril.
Way more people. Well, that they're putting themselves in danger by celebrating his death, and there are more people celebrating it, guaranteed, than there are mourning him.
There's more Democrats mourning him in the United States than there are people actually mourning him in Iran.
And that's incredibly disgusting to me, but whatever. None of us need to justify it. The number of people that he would have killed in the future is the only justification that anybody needs. So, that said, let's get into talking about the cyber aspect of this, because it's been really interesting. So, of course, the very first thing that happens, because it's Iran, is immediate threats. We're going to do this to you. We're going to retaliate. We're going to avenge the martyr. Blah blah blah, blah blah. And I guess it probably took them about 24 hours before they hit. Yeah, it would have been about 24, maybe 36 hours before they hit the what's the name?
You mean when they started defacing websites?
Well, in particular, the Federal Library Repository website. And raise your hand if you had ever heard of this agency.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's some pretty low-hanging fruit. I mean,
it is low-hanging fruit.
It's not like you're going against, Department of Defense, CIA, any of that. You're going... Did they do the Department of the Interior, too?
Did they?
USFDA? BLM?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I get where... I thought you were actually being serious. Well, see, and okay, so we're going to get to that, because no, they didn't. They got maybe some like ad council wannabe sites, right? So yeah, and we were kind of talking about that off, in our chat.
Coalition of
yesterday.
Farmers.
Not even. So
hiding a server in someone's bathroom is what they did.
Yeah, pretty much. Or the notoriously exploitable. And I have a reason for this. I've been really busy figuring out what's going on, and you guys are gonna love it. So, or you're gonna love getting the inside scoop on this. So. But yeah, I mean, the notoriously exploitable hosts that are out there, like Rackspace, and host Lotte was one that they had, right? So I was like, let's see, what's this website? Let's check the host. Oh, it's host Lotte. Never heard of them. Right? I mean, it's because guaranteed.
GoDaddy, they are not.
Right. I saw they got one site that the registrar was GoDaddy, but they were hosted somewhere completely different. I think they might have actually, in their post where they were bragging about it, they might have actually mentioned GoDaddy, but it was not a GoDaddy hosted site. Right. So, and we're not going to say who our host is, but guaranteed they're not getting anywhere near our host. So, yeah, they're not going to be messing with our new website, so we're not really worried about, about what we say about them, because they're not getting anywhere near those guys. They're way too tight for these guys to bring them down. I can say that now. I call them Skid Crew, right? And the group that's doing it goes by the name of BAX026, BAX 026. I don't know what it stands for. It probably stands for something, but I don't know what it stands for. I didn't get that far, right, to figure out what is that in Iranian. So, and it might be nothing, but it probably is
Iranian
something
for hackzors.
Yeah, right, for hacker. That's the group that's doing it. The first one that they did. That I saw posted by, an InfoSec account that it goes by the name of Hacker Fantastic, and he's a red team guy. He's offensive security. And the first thing that I noticed is, they put a username on there, right? So they're just like, hey, it's me, I'm hacking. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay, so that's great, OPSEC, obviously. They're in Iran, and they're hacking for the Iranian government. Why would you worry about it? Iran is not going to not going to come get you. Well, you might want to worry about it when you're kind of in a sensitive area. I mean, you got to feel they shouldn't feel so safe, right? Not in the Middle East, because those countries in some of those areas get turned upside down on the, you know, at the drop of a hat, kind of. And so, I mean, I can understand if they're in Tehran, they might feel pretty safe about what's going on, and they're never going to get caught, and nobody's ever going to do anything to them. And I can kind of understand that, but, you know, they might have to get on a plane, or they might want to go on vacation, or, you know, they might travel from one country to another. There are ways for them to get caught. And, yeah, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. But then again, you know, when I looked into it a little bit further, the U.S. government is not going to send them in like we're going after bin Laden, or sending the Navy SEALs to get the guys that hacked the Best of Phoenix website, or the best of Minneapolis website.
Oh,
yeah,
that's just such low-hanging fruit. They just basically hit blogs.
Yeah, and you've RSS feeds blogs that are pulling in RSS feeds and throwing up advertising and earning money off of advertising, because they can come up on search engines of what to do when you're in Minneapolis.
Did they get Taste of Home too? Just let me check real quick, because I really don't want my apple cobbler recipe to be defaced.
Right, exactly. When you're looking for a recipe, well. So when we got into, and it's 10:22, so I'll just take up the rest of the segment on this, because this is the best part. When I got into looking at what they were doing on some of these sites, not all of them, and actually on the library. So I mean, you know, every team's got different levels of talent on it, and we've talked about this before. So there's one guy on the team that can actually do an SQL injection and pull the data out and do something, you know, got a lot of talent. There might be one or two of those guys. And then the other people can like mess around, and, you know, they're learning, and they might be training a bunch of guys, right? So, but they're not the same level of hacker. Well, when you're trying to deface dozens of sites and create a lot of chaos and some fear, right, in retaliation for your martyr, you have to let the low-level guys that can't really do much do a lot of the work, especially when you want to create high volumes of activity. So one thing that they're doing to achieve that, and this is the funniest part, so when they find that a website has an FTP port open, they actually are throwing up, just like moving a new page over to the web, to the FTP server that is the best of Minneapolis.com/Iran.php.
Yeah, all they did was just change the redirect to the home page to a page that they uploaded that was pre-defaced. It's not like they recoded the page. It's like, you know, they posted up a bunch of flyers around the internet.
They didn't delete
what they did.
Exactly.
And
they
from
didn't.
The server side, it can actually be even easier. You go in, as we were testing the new chat, I did basically the same thing they did.
Mm-hmm.
I went into my FTP server, redid home.html to home.html.old, uploaded a new one, boom, done.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. It is. It didn't even take me very long to figure out that that's what they were doing. I'm like, they're cheating basically, right? But they're posting them all, and they're putting them on the H host site where hackers like put their defaces that they want to brag about. They're putting them up there. They're claiming credit for them, and they're making most of the country who doesn't listen to this show and doesn't understand what's going on think that, and people on Twitter are actually claiming that they're doing hundreds of sites. And if you saw me tweet today, it's not hundreds. It might be dozens. They might be up to about 50 to 75 by now.
Literally tens.
Yeah.
What was last night? We were doing some pre-show, and we saw 6 for the month of January.
Yeah, that was the one guy. That was the one guy. That was I think that he had a few that were, or a couple that were on his Twitter account that weren't on that site yet. On is it the H host or not H host, R host, whatever site? They weren't. He didn't have all of them up, but the one guy who's actually one of the better guys, and not one of the cheater guys, he had 6 so far in January, and there were a few more that were on his Twitter account that weren't on that site. So one of their better guys that's actually deleting pages off of sites. And
now that's actually doing the work.
That's actually doing the work, right? So he's getting into the server, he's getting into the FTP, and he's deleting pages and deleting, maybe deleting a database, maybe getting to the data.
I just want to say this. If you're going to do that, if you're going to be really annoying, go delete all the images, because that's not what's backed up. I mean, you can delete a database, but a database is backed up and can be restored. I mean, that's 5 minutes. Go in and delete all the pictures. That'll piss everybody off.
Images missing will fuck you up big time when it comes to that.
Yeah, Orty's class for hackers on how to annoy the web admin. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's gonna. I mean, but I've seen guys people that do red team. Ha ha ha! I deleted all their data. Well, they pulled it. They saved it for them because they're not. They're not actually trying to be annoying. They're red teaming. They're trying to teach them a lesson. But so they had it backed up. But I mean, if they didn't, it would be a problem. So, and that might be what happened to the National. So someone actually might have done that to the National Library Repository, because that site hasn't come back up. However, it might not have, and they haven't brought it back up because they haven't fixed whatever the security hole in it was yet.
Or they don't even know that their website's down. I mean, how much?
I think they know.
Their first day back at work.
They are. Somebody posted what their budget was, and it was maybe $70 million or something like that, and they made it was a big deal. And I'm I'm sorry, that's an entire government agency. $70 million, really? No, that's not a big budget at all. So
that's like 3 employees and
yeah, it's Veterans State Park in South Georgia, which is
bring us to our knees.
Yeah, exactly. It's like nothing. It's a state park and a half, maybe, in the Department of Interior. I mean, seriously, it's nothing. But they made it was a big deal because and these are Americans that they are creating Iranian propaganda for them, making a big deal out of these hacks, and I'm really, can we just tell the truth? And it's annoying.
Let's be honest with this in the fact that we know Iran can do better than this if they wanted to.
Yes.
And
that's part 2 of the show.
This is more like Hezbollah.
A lot of it is. I see some of the connections are from around the world, and this was the conversation that I had with someone yesterday. They look very international. So from South America, Europe, Indonesia, the Middle East, and there are men and women involved. That is Hezbollah, right?
Right.
Yeah, with that kind of reach and, that kind of propensity to use women in their operations, that's Hezbollah, which makes perfect sense because that's Soleimani's favorite group is Hezbollah. That's his favorite terrorist group. So
we've come full circle
around
in this.
So, but the thing to understand is that these guys that are active right now, that are doing all these hacks that people are making a big deal out of, they are not the A-team. They are. It's not that they're not important. It's not that they're not important. I don't want to say that they're not important
They're
because
the freshman squad.
There are things about these guys that are important. But they are not bringing down our critical infrastructure. These guys are not going to bring down our critical infrastructure. They are not going to change your day-to-day life. They're not getting into your bank account as we speak because that's not what they do. They are a misdirection.
Yep.
They're a distraction, and they're propaganda.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a joke.
Please do.
But I'm hoping the importance of it comes across well. This is small potatoes. If you see a site hack, say, Pornhub, that's where you start to worry. This little stuff, it's more of an annoyance. It's more of a little prick on your arm. It's concerning.
Did you just use little prick and Pornhub in the same paragraph?
I'm good, ain't I?
Anyway,
it's concerning, but nothing to lose sleep over.
Well, and the other thing is when they start, if they do start, if bigger things do start happening, don't immediately buy into the hype that's going, because it's just it's like a lot of other things. There are. As we know, on a daily basis, all sorts of shootings and drive-bys and mass shootings and things like that happen in Chicago. But immediately after a mass shooting happens somewhere else, like the mass shootings in Chicago start to get hyped, or things that are the ones in LA start to get hyped, or, other things in other areas will get hyped, even though they happen on a daily basis.
This happens every day, but now we're paying attention to it because it's a raw nerve.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for... Yeah, absolutely. So, we are definitely in a great place for a break, and we've covered what's going on. We're going to move on to what the threats really are.
Before we drop out to break, everyone in the chat, we're now using Discord instead of Skype. Let us know how we sound during the break, so that way we can, let us know if we're sounding better, different, same. Let us know. Just type it in the chat.
Unless, of course, we don't sound good, then I don't want to know. I'm just kidding. I'm playing. I'm turning the music up.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq. Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. you'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
We have decided that's the perfect Twitter song. If you don't know why, then you couldn't hear the lyrics.
Yes, it is. It's definitely Twitter.
Yeah, definitely the Twitter song. Nagging old hags. Get over it. So, and especially this week, man. Like, it's been a while since I got as irritated as I was on Twitter this week. And I'm just going to say one thing about one guy who tweeted the hallway full, not you, Jeff, the hallway full of Army soldiers, our military, thank you for your service, guys, and said, This is terrifying. Like, dude, Atlanta airport, this is terrifying. Okay. If you didn't see my tweet, I'm just going to recap right here. Atlanta Airport is the fly-in hub for Fort Benning. This guy tweets this on January 5th. Every school at Fort Benning, and there's a lot of them, officer infantry school, infantry training, officer candidate school for everybody that's airborne, ranger, infantry, Ranger Jump School, Airborne Jump School. All of them started the next day. So, yeah, guess what? Hundreds of soldiers were flying in it to Atlanta, getting on a bus and riding the hour and a half that it takes to get to Fort Benning from Atlanta. This guy takes the video in this current environment, posts it to Twitter, and says that it's terrifying. I kind of let him have it. He deleted his tweet. Score. Stop the propaganda. It's annoying.
It's people who are willfully ignorant of how we do things as a country, militaristically. Whether it's, when they're moving from point A to point B, generally, especially when they're going back, yes, they're in uniform. There are a lot of them, and classes get out and classes get back. It's, it would be like saying that's terrifying every time they start a new class. I live up by the Marine Corps Mountain Warfare Training Center. So it would be like saying it's terrifying when I see a column of Humvees riding up the road because I just don't want to know that there's a Mountain Warfare Training Center there.
I know, right? Except that, and I would totally buy that. Except this guy is an attorney in Raleigh-Durham. He flew out of Raleigh-Durham Airport.
He flew out of Raleigh?
Yeah, half of the guys standing in the hallway were coming out of Bragg and on his friggin' plane.
What a dumbass.
He was just being a jerk. Okay, so let's move on. APT 33 and 34, we've already covered on this show. They're Iranian hacking groups. They're kind of the higher echelon. There are some other groups. There's one that I just read about today that I can't remember the name of. That doesn't have a number yet, but it has a name.
Hexan.
Yes, thank you. Or hex kitten is the other thing that they call it, because it's Iranian. They call them kittens, and I think that they do them do it to piss them off.
We covered that,
right? So yeah, we covered all that. If you didn't hear those shows, we just kind of recapped it for you. So, so 33 and 34 we've talked about, and refresh my memory, Ordy. It's 33 that's kind of the JV and 34 that's the varsity. Did I get that wrong?
The way I understand it, it's not that there's a JV and a varsity. It's that one is Iranian Army Regular, the other is the Iranian Guard of the Mullahs.
It's funny. I've always looked at them as one is offensive and one is defensive.
That works too. Yes.
Okay.
And it's probably all true, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the so say which one is which. So 34 is the
that's the offensive one if I remember
correctly.
correctly.
34.
Right.
Yeah, 34 is red team, 33 is blue team.
Very good. Together they're purple. So 34 is oil rig, right? This is not a quiz. I'm sorry.
No, 33 is oil rig.
33 is oil rig.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. 34 is oil rig because that's also Helix kitten.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's
34.
That's what I thought. And then the 33 is Elfin.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So 34 is oil rig. They're the ones that probe critical infrastructure. Now, this has been the news story on Fox over and over and over again about them probing critical infrastructure. They keep saying that.
And what they mean by critical infrastructure, let's just take that out of Fox speak for a second, is that 34 is typically known for going after energy sector, travel. They're the spearfishers. They're the ones who are trying to work into a larger network by going after high-value targets, like Podesta typing in password.
Yes, exactly. Podesta's Gmail. Right. And, I mean, Jay Johnson got fished that way, and Clapper got fished that way. I mean, not by kids in North Carolina, not through Iran, but it happens. So And then 33, and Orta, you were really interested in this. I'm going to let you guys talk about this a little bit. The 33, Elfin was the one that pulled off the DNS hack, right?
Yeah. What they did was they did a global hijacking of DNS records. And what they were doing is they were manipulating, like, okay, say that you are Orty at, Orty mail dot whatever dot Orty Packard. So what they would do is they would go in and then they would set up the DNS to redirect that mail to whatever server they wanted. So
So the way that DNS servers work so fast, right? So you go to your browser and type in a website, and the website pops up like almost immediately. It happens really fast, even though it has to go out to the internet and look for what IP address belongs to that URL and then return it to the way that works is that records that, do you want to explain this, Jeff? Because you can probably do it better than I will.
It's going to take a couple minutes. DNS stands for domain name server. So if you type in, say, ESPN.com, the domain server, it recognizes the name. But all the servers recognize the number that's being hosted. So 10.10.10.1, say, is ESPN.com. So the domain name server points, say, hey, it's coming in to 10.10.10.1. Let's point it to ESPN. Now, as part of the domain name server, you also have MX records, which are mail exchange records, which point to a mail server tied to the web server ESPN.com, for example, that will send mail. So by manipulating the DNS records, you can point mail to different places or even the domain itself to a different IP number, but yet you typing in ESPN.com would never know.
Yeah, and what I was trying to explain is that they do it through the PTR record, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they're actually manipulating. Those are cached. So explain that part of it, unless you want me to.
Well, point to record. It basically it's a directory. It's a yellow pages.
It makes it work faster, right? That's how it works so fast.
Yeah. It's that what's the comedian's name where she plugs in the phone lines and makes it delayed. It bypasses
Lily Tomlin.
Thank you, Lily Tomlin, and it just makes it quicker, automated, and you don't even recognize or know that you're doing it unless you work the server side.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, but it's kind of the you go here, you go there that sits out on all the DNS servers, right? So it's like a cache. Yes. It's like a cache list of where to go. It's a directory. It's it's a GPS directions for websites. So they manipulate those so that everything sees that it's going to the right place. Everything thinks that it's going to the right place because the record is what was changed. The record looks fine. Everything looks fine. I'm communicating with the right record. The record is sending me to this DNS, this IP address, whether it's an email address or it's a website, whatever it is. It's sending me to the right place. Everything's golden. Everything looks good. And you don't know until later that something's wrong. So,
and more importantly, it passes all the security tests because it's information located on the server already.
Yes, absolutely. And there are so that is that's how that works. So what actually happened, Orty, and to go back to telling the story of what actually happened.
Well, and again, they were doing this to fish high-value targets and to basically get their email. And the root cause of it's still under investigation. They don't want to think that it was a single intrusion attack. It happened from many actors and multiple. This is where we get into the activity this last week too, where and what we've talked about in the past is where they are sourcing out their attacks as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming from multiple directions where these attacks are doing. These attacks were prominent in 2017 through 2019, and apparently going on today too. So the scale of this DNS hijacking has never been exploited to this level.
Yeah, and
it shows the evolution of attacks out of Iran. Iran not having an NSA, a CIA, having the best equipment in the world. They have to think out of the box, and this is definitely an out of the box form of hacking.
Yeah, it's a high return. It's a high return for kind of low labor kind of job, right? So they changed the records, and you don't have to. Like I said, they're kind of cached in every DNS. I'm drawing a blank on what you call it, but kind of DNS is kind of arranged in hubs, right? So it'll go through a hub to pick up the directory, right, Jeff?
Well, almost every server group carries a DNS at some level. When I used to work for an ISP, we also held a DNS,
right?
And it's at that point of access when you're getting onto the on-ramp of this information superhighway, as I would describe it to my customers back in the day,
right?
That our DNS server would help it direct it out in this way. But yeah, there's clusters all over.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the word that the word that I was looking for is a cluster. So it goes through, that and it picks up where it needs to go. So, and it travels through. Well, I was about to get into something that we don't need to get into, but at any rate, so
you were about to start talking about traceroute, weren't you?
I was, yeah. And trace routes and frame packets, and we don't need to go there. Yeah. So, at any rate, and we did frame packets on another show anyway. So, at any rate, this particular attack was, it was almost kind of shocking when they found it, and they issued a warning about it.
Yeah, this was the first time that DHS cybersecurity ever issued a warning, and it ultimately led to Iran hacker groups just getting beat up for the last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It brought a lot of attention on them. And one reason that the Iranian hacker groups had developed the way that they have is because of Stuxnet. And what I'm going to say about that, all I'm going to say about that right now, if you know anything about it, it was a major intrusion. It was planned by the U.S. and Israel, and it took out their nuclear program for years. But now it's in the wild on the internet. That's a whole nother story. There's a movie. It's called 0 Days. And it's really great. You should watch it. And you can do that between now and the next show. And you'll be smarter than us by the time we're back on the air. But they got a lot better after that, and part of the reason is that they had to. Internally, their security and just their knowledge of cybersecurity, offensive and defensive cyber warfare, had to get better. They didn't really have a choice. But because of that, they've developed into a more formidable cyber warfare foe. However, when they pulled off this DNS hack, as Orty said, it brought a lot of attention on them. They got hammered and have been getting hammered and are still getting hammered. And, my opinion of it right now, especially seeing that, and I don't want to say anything about, BAX 26 being or 026 being the only group that even seems like it's doing anything. That's the only activity that we're seeing right now but the minute they said retaliation, you can bet that Cyber Command is like bearing down on them hard, right? So you just know that's the case because it has to be.
And the analogies we've used in the past, where the internet is the new Cold War frontier, and how small countries can have a big footprint, like Iran, where there's no way they could ever face the U.S. militaristically, but they can compete on some levels. Yeah, we were making fun of them at the beginning of the show, but that's more like the low-level contractors. That's the conscripts who really don't, or anyway. But
somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, this is in this Cold War. It's everybody against everybody. Even our allies are trying to hack us. So with them getting stepped on the way that they have been, to use a Cold War analogy, would be like a sleeper cell of spies being discovered in a small town. And so everybody's descending on them, thinking everybody's the spy.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good analogy. But yeah, so they're getting hammered. So they're probably trying to. I think they're definitely trying to get things done. I don't know how much they can get done because, we're probably stressing their resources at this point. I'll just put it that way. I would imagine that Cyber Command is putting a pretty high level of stress on their resources at this point.
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at with that too, is that with the internet being a battlefront in a different kind of Cold War, in that when we took out Suleimani, whatever.
Sorry,
that
man.
Also opened up to where Iran's cyber warriors and the U.S.'s cyber warriors are going after each other. Now, we made that comment the night that it happened, Lou. We were watching one of the global threat analysis sites.
Well, we were looking at a few of them. Kaspersky, I think, was the one we were looking at.
Yeah, there was no activity coming out of the Middle East at all for a good 3 hours.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the Middle East. I mean, not just Iran. I mean, there was Iraq, Saudi, UAE. It was looking at North Korea at night.
It was
no lights coming out of the Middle East.
Right. It was eerie. It looked. I can't. As some of us just like look at these maps when we're bored, or take a break. Look at the map,
or
see what's going on. In the world. Yeah, or something's happening in the world, and you want to see what the cyber attacks look like. And you never know exactly why things go dark, but it went dark in the Middle East. And the strangest thing about it, Israel is one of those countries that is constantly hitting and getting hit at the same time. It
was like a very small U.S. If you look at one of these maps and you see all the traffic going out of the U.S. and coming back into the U.S., Israel is a very tiny version, tiny dot on the map with as much activity coming in and out of it.
Yeah.
You can't even see the outline of the map because everything is so green from activity.
Yeah, and Israel was almost completely dark as well, which was really weird. That was really weird, and it was there was traffic coming out, but there was almost nothing going in, which is strange because even the Palestinian groups that are technically within the terrorist territory, and the Palestinian hacker groups exist, and they're not nothing. They'll be getting hit. So you'll see Israel getting hit from allied locations, and coming out the way that it's happening, that it's probably directed at Palestinian groups and not at Israel. None of that was going on. It was really weird. It was really dark, but it's just like Gordy says. It opens up a cyber. When something like this happens, it opens up a cyber theater of war. So it's it's a war zone. It's a virtual war zone. It's really fascinating. And
it's like when you see anything happen, it's like with the Hong Kong protests, when those were at their peak, watching large portions of China go dark. And you just kind of, you hear about countries shutting down their internet or having the capability of shutting down their internet. And you wonder if whole regions are doing it, and if they're doing it themselves, or if we're doing it to them, or if somebody else who has the capability. It's just because it's like a switch gets flipped. It's the normal in and out traffic, and then nothing.
Honestly, it reminded me of 9/11 no flight.
Yeah, you think about all the flights in the air on a daily basis, and and you just look at it, and it's like data traffic when you look at these maps.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy too. There was another event I think that you had mentioned, Jeff. That came out of the Iranian groups that you wanted to talk about, or was there not? It was something.
I wish I could remember. I'm sorry.
No, we may have talked about it already. It may have been something else.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, it might have been the DNS thing. But I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss what you wanted to talk about, because we've already done a whole hour.
No, I do. I don't want to say where I work or who I work for, and I know there is probably a large amount of concern among typical internet users about their safety and their security. So I do want to touch on this, that the company I work for is well aware of everything that is happening. They are highly protected. They are aware of what's coming. And it's nothing that typically normal users will need to worry about, because there are people paying attention. People are alert. It despite what the media is going to say or what they may highlight, behind the scenes, a lot of stuff is taking place that is going to secure everyday Americans, that we don't need to worry about anything.
Was exactly it, because what was on my mind was us talking about analogies, and the analogy that we made for that is, because everybody knows what I used to do, is the Red Cross during a tornado watch. This is not a tornado warning, because we don't know if anything's going to happen. And again, rest assured, Cyber Command has their boot on the cyber neck.
They really do.
Right now. And so they're stressing their resources as much as they can. And the likelihood might even be less than it is now. But
yes. And knowing what I know, without giving away information that I do know, they have been prepared for this for years.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing when I truly wish I could express what I do know as far as securities and financial and things of that nature. They have been prepared for this, and they've been waiting for this moment. Now, they are at high alert because of this. They're paying attention to any new intrusions or new little mining attempts. But in the end, it usually comes down to the individual. So just be alert.
Yeah, but definitely be alert. Be alert of phishing. Don't be alert of phishing. Definitely always be alert for phishing. But it
will never ask you your password in an email.
Right, exactly. And you just don't click links that you weren't expecting to get. It only takes a minute, and whoever you're dealing with will be very glad that you did. But especially if it's coming from your bank or something, and you get an email and they're asking you to click and you weren't expecting it, pick up the phone and call them and say, I got this email from you. It says I need to click, and I don't want to. they'll be glad you did. They will be glad you did.
I am an introvert to the nth degree. Phone calls will save or solve 99.999% of any concerns and issues you have.
Yeah. They actually will. And whoever it is you're calling will be glad that you did, and it'll be worth it to you. You know, there's, when it comes to stuff like this, you cannot be too safe. And I mean, these are really things that you should always do anyway. If you weren't expecting it, don't click on it. In the story.
Yeah, I loaded in I linked the map we were watching. That night we happened to be watching the Kaspersky cyber threat.
Yeah. I like the way that one lights up.
If you look at the Middle East right now, it's its usual Christmas tree.
Yeah. So it's pretty much back to normal, but it was dark, and I wish I knew like why it went dark. Maybe they were jamming signals for the maps so that people couldn't look and see. Who knows? I don't know.
If I was a wagering man, I would wager on that.
Yeah. That was kind of the first thing that came to my mind, is that they got to be jamming that.
It was really alarming how many places went dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and this is the way I think, and this is why I get ideas like this. This is the way I think of it. Well, you know, if I was in charge, I'd jam it. I wouldn't want people looking at it. So, yeah. So that's usually how I'm thinking about stuff. So we'll just recap. The hacks that you're seeing that everybody is hyping, they're not exactly what they look like they are. And a lot of it is distraction and propaganda. So
a lot of them are just bad memes in Farsi.
A lot of them are bad memes in Farsi. So absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So don't buy the hype and the propaganda. And in general, don't buy the hype and the propaganda and the people trying to scare you on the internet. And I know you're all smart enough to know that, but I'm going to say it anyway.
And links are spoofy. Don't click them.
Links are spoofy. Don't click them. And these guys are good, but we're better. Yeah. Is that a pretty good recap? Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
And when Orty was saying they can kind of compete with us on the same, they kind of can compete with us sort of on the same level, but they're not there yet. And their OPSEC is horrible.
An analogy. The worst baseball team in the Major League Baseball has a chance to beat the best team on any given day. But in a series of 7, the best team is always going to win.
That's another pretty good analogy. And this is not the World Series. It's more like the Bad News Bears. So
yeah, the point I was making on the level was more like with the DNS redirect. They don't have the tools, so they have to be creative. Yes. And being creative, you want to go back. America had to be creative to beat the British, and
yeah, absolutely. It's like you were talking about Jeff on Twitter is graded on a curve, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of grading on a curve here. So it's like they can't compete with us in a tank war. They can't compete with us in an air war. Definitely can't compete with us on a Navy war or in a naval war. They can get a little bit closer than all of that in a cyber war. But we're still better. That's what we want you to know. That's the takeaway. We're better. We win. So, and if you see something, say something. So that's all we've got tonight. We'll be back next.
God, that phrase scares the crap out of me. I hear Janet Napolitano saying it, and I just think, oh, that's so cringy, and Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll stop saying that. I'll come up with something better. Report all the heckin' that you see on Twitter to me. No, I don't know. And anyway, so, yeah, thanks you guys for joining us. We love you. What do you want to say to get out of here, Orty?
Juxtaposition Friday.
It's a great show.
Shift or anything Thursday?
Not culture. No culture shift this week. We did one last week, and that is next week. This week is disasters in the making.
Okay.
And look for the new KLRN website. We're hammering it out. We may have it. I don't know. How soon you think you're going to get that registration changed over? And then we can really talk about going live. Anyway, yes, keep an eye out for that. We have been working very hard on it.
Yeah, let's cross our fingers for by the time we have another show, maybe.
That'd be great.
Yeah, or if not, then soon after. What do you want to say before we get out of here, Jeff?
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and hopefully this week, or if not this week, next week, because Rick does have it in his hands, I will have a new episode of In the Crease talking about the legend of King Arthur. So I hope you pay attention to that.
Awesome. That's great. I'll be on with the girls from the Red Wine Wednesday night at 9 o'clock and producing the podcast, A Pod Divided tomorrow with Aggie and LL at 9. So Tuesday at 9 and Wednesday at 9. You can hear me produce and not talk, which can be nice. And we'll see you back here next week, and we might have, like more Iran stuff to talk about. So we're going to see what happens before we have a plan for next week. Thanks for hanging in with us for 11 extra minutes, you guys. We'll see you next week. Love y'all.
Bumpy ride, sitting back in the saddle. It's time to get down, dirty up our knees in the battle. Oh, come on, round up the boys, gonna make the walls rattle. Oh, our flag is tattered and our bones are shattered, but it doesn't matter 'cause we're moving forward. Round 'em up, let's go. Round 'em up, let's go. The blood we've shed. The only way I'm leaving is dead. That's the state of my head. They don't know where we've been. We got that concrete street skin. The only way I'm leaving is dead. That's the state of my head. That's the state of my head. We've been